slash right now. This is how fast I move. This is the slowest I would move. I have no supports for speed. I have the wrong weapon set in. It doesn't match up with the weapon set points that are designated 1 and 2. So this is the setup with 2. This is the starting point, okay? Now, if I switch weapons to a fast weapon and get credit for all of these here, this is how fast I move. Again, that's from this to this. But we're not done yet. We have 4 speed supports to put in here. And now this is the real movement speed of a 1 divine version of this build. Don't forget, Forensic Charges gives a whole bunch of extra speed on the speed test I showed earlier that did not account speed like this because of charge regulation. Yeah, it's a nice opener, I guess. Hey guys, what's up? Snoo here. Welcome back to another video. I got a very peculiar one for you today. As you can see, I have a character with no gear and no skill gems. Currently level 97, but today we stripped her all the way down with all the gear put away, all the skill gems put away, and I'm going to remake the character as a sort of test on a dirt cheap budget of 1 divine orb. I think this would be very enlightening, very insightful for you guys, especially because I've been getting a lot of questions about how good Whirling / Twister is on a budget. How much currency do you have to invest to make it feel good? Can it do pinnacle content on a really cheap budget? How much gear do you need to do tier 15 map? Can you do the 4th trial of Sekhemas with almost no currency? A lot of these questions are very much in good faith, and I want to really inform you guys the best I can by doing this test run. It also served me well because this is actually a variant of the build that I advertise in a Maxroll link, which we'll look at in a second, which kind of dictates how you would progress the build. And so I'm going to feel that out firsthand, and we'll see if I need to update it accordingly. Of course, it's not really meant to be a 1 divine budget, but you get the idea. And another reason why I want to make this video is because I'm still seeing a lot of information that suggests that the power that resides in Whirling / Twister is just like any other conventional build, gear-based. It's based on your gear. You have to have good gear. And I mean, I can see why that happens, for one thing, because I've been playing a character that has hundreds of divines of gear worth invested, so when you see it in action, you naturally just assume that, of course, all that power resides in the gear. Another reason why it makes sense is because it was actually true in 0.2. You really did need a ton of gear to have a very strong Twister build in 0.2. Not necessarily in terms of damage, but in terms of speed, you definitely did through accuracy stacking. And that principle held true in attribute stacking in 0.1 with other builds. But it's not the case now, and so this will help really illustrate just how strong and fast this build can be on almost no currency at all. And so we're kind of addressing both of those members of the audience, if you will. And I'm getting to see what it'll be like for myself at the same time. So a lot of good reasons to make a video like this. It's really not the most enjoyable video to make because I would rather just be continuing to grind on a character that I have. Nobody wants to like strip their entire character down and replay the game on a tiny fraction of the budget that they currently experience that level of power on. It's really jarring, but I know it'll be of great service for you guys. So we're going to do that here and now. You're welcome to follow along. There's timestamps down below. We're going to have to go through the process of buying all the gear. I'm going to use the new in-game, setup where we can purchase everything in-game. So I'll show you that in real time. It's going to be a lot of cuts, of course. But first, let's take a real quick pit stop at the Maxroll guide so you can understand what I'm referencing when I'm talking about, following my own guide and maybe having to make some adjustments accordingly. I have 3 different versions of this build now, and yes, I've been evolving it still using constricting command, surround tech. I'm not going to talk about that in this video. We are shining a spotlight on the really cheap version. Now, this doesn't technically mean just 1 divine worth of budget, but this is supposed to mimic a super early in-game setup with gear like this. Not necessarily this well rolled, but you can see it's like super cheap uniques, and it's got, only 4 modded rares, things like that. The skills, I mean, there's there's 2 6 links, I guess, but you wouldn't necessarily have to have that. I probably can't afford that on a 1 divine budget, so I'll have to adjust that accordingly. I'll try to buy gear that most closely replicates what you see here. And then the passive tree is fortunately something I can do a true 1-to-1 copy of because there's no funny business there. I don't have to buy anything. I simply just need to replicate it. It so happens that the early in-game crit dual spear setup Which, yes, I know there's a lot of variants here. It's going to be a little confusing. Just line them all up. This setup is for level 81. It's very early in progression, if you will. Now, you'll see there's a lot of different color codings here. Green represents weapon set 2, and red represents weapon set 1. So let's start with that. I'll show you where a lot of the power of the build resides in through weapon swap tech. Here we go. We're back in game, and you can see this is an actual one-to-one copy with what you just saw in the guide. I don't have any jewels in yet, so I'll buy whatever I can. Skill effect duration will be my priority. But you can see here, the colors are a little harder to see, but these are weapon set 1 points here with speed, with more speed here, more speed here, more speed here. And then we got a lot of green here with projectile damage or just extra damage, extra crits, extra damage here. There's damage here. There's more speed over here. There's more damage right here. As you can see, I've very much diverged the power of the build. One side focusing on speed, the other focusing on damage. And this is one of the hallmarks of 0.3, the removal of weapon swap delay. And so if you can make a build that can somehow function utilizing two different archetypes, so to speak, and especially a build like Whirling/Twister where that particular combo feeds itself, you can make a really, really strong build this time around, just baked into the power of the tree. It's essentially free, and this is one of the biggest things I was trying to promote in a previous video when we were looking at attack speed movement scaling. It's not expensive anymore to do this. I'm getting well over 100% increased attack speed without sacrificing any damage, effectively. Here, I'll go ahead and show you what this looks like in real time. Weapon set 2, I can add extra damage here by taking these points are actually good for the build. And then I can use this up here for speed and get even more attack speed. And this is how I'd kind of allocate those things. But you can see I only spent 2 passive points, even though I put 4 passive points in because I diverged them. Now, I'm not actually going to keep those points because I want to follow that guide exactly 1 for 1. So we'll go ahead and remove these. But this just lets you see how it's done in actual game. Well, it's time to get that Divine Orb and cash it in. Now, I should probably point out that 1 Divine Orb worth of currency is not the same thing now as it was, say, on the first couple days of the league. It's going to go further now. There's a lot of gear on trade that's, like, good, but not really extremely good, and so it's, like, dirt cheap. And then, obviously, 282 Chaos Orbs, or rather, Exalted Orbs, are a lot. And so here we go. We got 282. I can do a lot with this in the current state of the game, and so it's not exactly representative of what would happen in the first couple days of the league, but you know, that's one reason why I'm going all the way down to 1 Divine Orb. A bit unreasonably low budget, right? There'll be one caveat to this test. Now, I don't have the skill gems necessary to buy all these again, but of course the assumption is that you would have skill gems, spirit gems, support gems as you're leveling up. I'm not going to use level 20 gems for that reason, but I'm not diving into the bank for these specifically because you would naturally have these already. This is the only exception I'm making in terms of buying everything necessary to do it, because there's, in no real world practical gameplay situation would you have to purchase all of these gems from scratch. I should be able to have both the intelligence and dexterity requirements met with the gear that I'm going to get in this process, so let me just real quickly craft all of these gems and get the support gems as well. Lineage gems, if any, that I'm going to use will be purchased. Okay, I have all of the gems now crafted. Here they are, and it looks like I'm going to need 137 dex and 137 int to wear them all, which means I'm going to need probably 3 attribute rolls in total to wear all of this gear. I'm not going for anything strength-based. Here's all the support gems. I believe I have them all done. But first, I need to purchase jewelers. Now, here's a pretty good example of where later on in the league, you get way more bang for your buck as far as jewelers are concerned. It looks like I can probably get 8 of these with just 2 exalts. Yeah, that's going to go through. And so we'll be able to add jewel slots to the necessary ones. I'll see if I can afford a perfect one later on at the end, but for now, I'm not expecting to run anything with full links. Oh, whoops, I see I messed up earlier and I crafted a level 1 Twister. I meant to do Whirling Slash. Whoops, let me redo that. So I've decided I do want to go ahead and purchase this gem. It's very, very powerful lineage gem for Whirling Slash movement. Even though this is severely cutting into the total budget, I definitely feel like it's going to be worth it for me in this case.
I'll feel better
Definitely
as
undercut the
soon as I
budget as
can.
best I can. It's 20% more skill speed for Whirling Slash, and I'll just work around it best I can or what I have to with the remaining currency. Okay, so just to recap, we have the passive tree completely done aside from jewels. I have a funny feeling I'm going to forget to buy jewels, but I'm just going to save that for the end. We have support gems lined up ready to go in this dump tab. This is dump tab 25 is the one I'm using for everything related to here. So if I put currency in there or whatever, that's part of this. I'm leaving the remaining exalts here in my inventory for the time being. And then now it's time to make some purchases for gear. You can see I've populated a lot of things here. This is / to pull it up in game. And, you know, if I just want to like randomly search something in here, you can see it'll pull up this way. And I'm going to buy them in a specific order. Basically, most important gear piece to least important. We'll start with the uniques. But you can kind of see how I populated this up in preparation for whether it's gloves, rings, body armor, things like that. I will mess around with the evasion and energy shield rolls up here when it comes to armor and things like that. But yeah, you can see that I'm prepared to find some half-decent items for really cheap by populating things up this way. So I would recommend if you were trying to, you know, cut corners and get some really good gear for cheap, you'd want to approach it in some manner like this. Okay, so the first thing I got to do is buy some uniques. So we'll uncheck all of this, and we're going to buy Tangletongue. In which case, actually, I care a little bit about the flat crit roll, so we'll get critical hit chance. Maybe go for 7 points, I don't know, 7.75. And yeah, you can see it's populated up here. I might concern myself about the flat fizz roll, don't care about the int roll, but you can see, I mean, already, look, this is going to be one exalt. Basically, every single unique that I get is going to cost 1 exalt, probably. And so, I don't know, let's walk through the process together. Okay, I'm narrowing it down. I'm kind of being picky about the rolls here, but I think I'll go with this one right here. This looks good to me. Intelligence isn't going to matter much here because we got weapon swap involved. So this one right here looks like it's a little bit underpriced actually for the quality. So I'll just yoink that right there. And that's 1 exalt down the drain. Next item on the list is Beacon of Azis, Solar Amulet. Again, we're getting all the uniques out of the way, so let's go ahead and travel here. Now, the reason for this is there's 2 super strong mods here. One is Ignore Enemy Monster Elemental Resistance. We don't have Rakyetis Flow yet. There's no, I mean, obviously you can't afford that yet. And so this is a nice way to compensate for the lack of reversal of elements. Also gives some free spirit, which paired with an extra spirit on the weapon means that you can have up to an extra 60 spirit between all of that on the build. The build calls for 59 spirit beyond what you start with default-wise, so it's a very easy way to get that spirit. I'm not actually going to run Companion on this setup, though. We're going to present a setup prior to that, which you're about to see. Wake of Destruction is an excellent item for twisters. It automatically gives you elemental ground, which means you don't have to mess with any of that in any other way. Like you don't need a companion with Trail of Ice or anything like how the guide calls for. It also pairs terrifically well with Call to the Brotherhood, which I'm about to purchase, which will turn those lightning twisters into cold, and then you still have shock mandated through shocked ground, so everything's shocked anyway. Absolutely terrific way to set up the character on a dirt cheap budget. Even on day 1, this pairing of items is highly accessible. Alright, there it is, Call of the Brotherhood. Very well rolled one for 1 exalt for sure. And I actually forgot that this came with one of the attribute rolls that I need already, and some lightning res, and mana regen will be a little bit nice here too on this scuffed of a build gear-wise. Okay, next up on the list is the Whirling Spear. This is one for movement. The Skysliver is recommended on the guide for multiple reasons. It's usually just going to be a lot cheaper. It has roll ranges that are much higher. It can go all the way up to 30%, although I will warn you that it costs a lot more when you do that. In order for me to buy a budget one that's going to fit in alignment with my total budget, I think I'm going to have to go all the way down to maybe 24% local attack speed roll out of 30. And I do want to point out that there are definitely some other options here that would suffice for spears. Let me just type in spear. Actually, it's kind of crazy how strong of a spear you can get if you're cutting corners on attack speed, and you can get a lot more damage. And honestly, it's recommended to do this. The problem with what I'm doing today is that this costs a lot of strength, and I'm not really going for strength other than, you know, just hit the necessary amount to get Tangletongue to 17. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Skysliver, and for the sake of this test as well. It's nice to follow the guide anyway. Let me pull this back up. And yeah, it looks like this is going to be the one for me. So that completes the gear set of unique items. You know, I'd really like to be able to put Soul Core for speed in this because it's going to matter a lot, but that thing costs, I think, 30-something exalts right now. Hopefully I don't need the Spirit one either. It's similar, so I don't think I will need either of those necessarily. We'll see how much currency I have left over, but I'm all the way down to this much, so I've got to buy all the rare items now. It's going to be belt, gloves, body armor, helmet. I think I'm going to use... I guess I'm going to use a Spirit Offhand of some kind, but I can't afford any of the Guiding Palm ones because those are outside the budget limit window for this test. I suspect there'll be a lot of really good rare gear available, so let's get to it. Alright, looks like we're at our first rare. I'm going to start with a body armor. It's a pretty big piece. We have a passive point that gives a lot of extra energy shield based on the evasion of the body armor, so it's kind of important to go really hard on evasion. And I've populated this as such. I kept messing around with the total evasion number. Really like this one. Looks like it's available for sniping. Pretty high roll. It's got 3 good suffixes. I was mentally prepared to only get 2 good suffixes, but you know, if it's going to be this good for 5 exalts, I really don't want to pay much more than 5 exalts, but this one is pretty dang good, so we'll go ahead and pick that up. And especially since I don't have to pay for the armor scraps or the iron runes, which I was going to obviously use. Okay, on to the helmet. Now, this needs to be pure energy shield because we're going subterfuge mask, which means we get a whole bunch of evasion. For the energy shield here is where we're going to get a lot of the energy shield knocked out. You can see that the budget is pretty tough on, you know, this. Maybe if I go only 2 suffixes, it's a little more reasonable. I mean, kind of. So I think I'm overextending a bit on the amount of energy shield I'm willing to put up with, so I can obviously adjust these numbers accordingly. See what works for me. Ah, here we go. I actually like this one. We didn't really talk about this, but given the league mechanic and what it is, I have the opportunity to desecrate an extra affix on here, and especially for armors, I can probably afford it. So this would be a really great place to get flat energy shield if I can. Great suffixes on this helmet, best base as well. I mean, there's some other good options here too. I think, yeah, I think I'm going to grab this for 1 exalt. I'll have to pay for the iron rune and armor scraps, but probably going to be worth it for this one. Yeah, I mean, heck, I got 3 of them coming to me. That's crazy. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hit that, and I mean, might as well. I'm definitely not going to get a second look at this, so we'll see what I get in one try. Ooh. No flat ES, but my goodness, an absolute massive life roll. Seems kind of awkward to take this, but given that I'm on the early stages of gearing, I think it is going to be best just to go ahead and grab that probably tier 1 life roll. Something going on with the prices on the market right now. Anyway, those will most surely go through, and that item will be finished. Alright, next is gloves and rings, and, you know, I have a few stats that I need to get before the end. I'd like to get at least 1 copy of Life Leech and Mana Leech. I figured I'd get Deflection on the body armor. I didn't, which means the only other place to get it is the gloves. It's a really good idea to try to get at least 1 copy of that, because it's very favorable ratio to invest just a little bit. Not so much a lot, but a little bit. Really going to want it somewhere. So I'm looking at gloves here. I figured, especially because I need leech and deflection somewhere, and flat damage to attacks is very important with Tangletongue. I can't afford any gloves that have 2 high flat rolls, but we have a nice situation here maybe, where a pair of gloves, what was it, for 10? Yeah, for 10x. Maybe they're a little further down. Mana is also more expensive than life, so I already got... Oh yeah, and attack speed with the gloves, really want that too. Still has an open prefix, could be another flat roll, so these look like a really good buy for a little bit extra currency than I probably want to pay for the gloves, given the circumstances. Really good value here, I think, especially when we slam this in and see what we get. Life would also be okay, but definitely going to want flat rolls. It matters so much for Tangletongue damage. Well, I think I hit like tier 1 flat here, but definitely going to go with fire damage. That's a nice hit. Not tier 1, but pretty good. I'm quite happy about that. Tier 3, yeah. I can definitely flip those, by the way. Now, I figured I might get some resistances on the gloves. This puts me in a bit of a bind here, seeing what's going on with my res. I've basically knocked out everything I need to. I don't have to get life leech on the ring. I can put it on the offhand, I believe. Snapshot leech in there with twisters. I don't think I need the spirit one in there, and that rune is very cheap. So, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to need 1 all-res roll, plus 1 fire, 1 lightning, and 2 cold rolls between the ring and belt. Now, the belt's a very easy piece to get a lot of resistances on. The ring, not so much, because again, I still care a lot about flat damage. Okay, next I'm going to get the ring out of the way. Looking at the resistances, it looks like I put myself in a bit of a bind. I essentially have to get an all-res roll and a cold res roll with fire or lightning res is the other one to make this work. Now, this is a lot easier to do if I don't mandate the flat damage roll, but I have still a fair bit of currency, so I think we're going to splurge a little bit now here getting to the end. I'm going to buy this breach ring. Not sure if I can quality it or not. We'll see. The only thing left to buy is the belt, so let's see what I'm missing here. Okay, so it looks like with the belt I'm going to need it to have cold and fire res. Well, looking at something interesting here. I thought I might be able to get hybrid rolls. I know those are kind of overlooked a bit, but yeah, if we go for that, it costs a lot. I think I can force it myself, perhaps. I want to give this a try, so I'm going to put this in. It's not the end of the world if this fails. It has the 2 right resistances, and I figured I'd only necessarily get 2 resistances. It's going to be really nice if I can hit the hybrid res.
Sure thing.
Wow, Voltaxic Rift. Huh. So I noticed that the Ulamon Desecration has a very high chance to hit what I need here. And I'm going to need to also do a Preserved Collarbone. I don't think there's a whole lot of risk here. So this was suffix mod, and then if this is active, pays to know a little bit about crafting, this part here. I don't think it's cheating, just, you know, clever use of game mechanics is all. It should hit a hybrid roll. Oh, it did not hit a hybrid roll. Oh, no. Will attempt to get this, that's your next weapon, or just a desecration attempt will attempt to get it. So it didn't even use it. Huh, it didn't even use it. Pretty sure it was on the whole time. It's weird. Okay. Let me know in the comments what I did wrong there. Like I said, it pays to know a little bit about crafting. Alright, well, that's quite alright. So what this means is that I'm not going to get to use an iron rune here. Actually, I suppose I can. I can probably get away with this because I'll just be a little bit, tiny bit under cap.
Can I help?
For my resistances. Barely under capped. I'll put one of them here. One of them here. Now, I don't have Chaos Res, but, I mean, you got me stripped on a 1 div budget, so I'm just going to have to deal with that. Well, not quite done yet. I still need to hit that ring. I'm trying to figure out what to do with it. Oh, I can get, you know, perfect jewelers, I suppose. Alright, let's hope we get a flat. No flat. God, that's really bad. Well, magnitude of shock. Well, frenzy charge recently. I believe that counts for shocked ground still. So, of the choices, that's the most valuable one. Looks like we're about done with the gearing. Oh, I still need charms. But I actually forgot to focus on a belt with 3 charms. Well, that's okay. I get a couple flasks out of the way. I mean, I don't think the rolls on this matter a whole lot. Not really expecting to have to use them much. Although, you know, I probably will have to use the life flask a little bit on this test. Oh, I still haven't bought an offhand. I forgot to do that. Yeah, I gotta buy an offhand of some kind. Oh, I didn't think of this. I can purchase a guiding palm of the mind or the eye corrupted, and therefore it's cheap. People trying to get the palm of the dreamer. So yeah. Actually curious, what does this one cost? It's even cheaper. Well, we're using Call to the Brotherhood, so lightning or cold damage is more lightning or cold damage. So in this case, I am gonna want to pay for this. Maybe I can get a higher number here. Well, that's interesting. I didn't even... I should do that for my main build. What am I doing? Why do I do that for my main build? Hello? Oh my goodness. Alright, well, I have 80 exalts left over. And all the tech is working currently, so what I'm going to do is purchase a couple of these. Now, again, here's another example of something that you wouldn't be able to do the first couple days of League with 1 Divine. But at this point, 1 Divine will pay the bills for Twister. And Whirling Slash is going to be the next best one. Now, I also want to bring to your attention one of the most important parts of this video, the demonstration of just how strong the tech is for moving fast. If I use Whirling Slash right now, this is how fast I move. This is the slowest I would move. I have no supports for speed. I have the wrong weapon set in. It doesn't match up with the weapon set points that are designated 1 and 2, so this is the setup with 2. This is the starting point, okay? Now, if I switch weapons to a fast weapon and get credit for all of these here, this is how fast I move. Again, that's from this to this. But we're not done yet. We have 4 speed supports to put in here. And now this is the real movement speed of a 1 Divine version of this build. Look how fast that is. That's so much faster than, you know, a minimal amount of movement speed. Here's my movement speed right now. 10% movement boots. Granted, I'm not taking movement speed on the tree, but you can see already, even on this very cheap budget, we're moving a lot faster. I could have 50% increased movement speed more than this and it still wouldn't match. So at this budget, it's a profound difference. So rotation is pretty simple here, but before we get to that, I need to assign these to the certain weapon set. We want to keep Whirling Slash on weapon set 1. We want to keep Twister on weapon set 2. We want Barrage to be weapon set 1 as well, because that'll get to take credit for faster skill speed points that I'm getting over there, and increased, Dance with Deaths, more skill speed matters, you know, in conjunction with the cast speed and everything. Call of the Week, also weapon set 1, although you could do 1 or 2. I think just 1 would be a good point there. And then we can see that I've got, wow. I've got way more than enough there. Oh, okay. I mean, I got 25 spirit left and 34. So if I had an unset ring, I could put in Siphon Elements, actually, which would have been nice. I probably should have bought an unset ring, so I could have done that. But anyway, the guide doesn't call for that. Yeah, that's right. I remember making that decision. I didn't want to impress upon people that you had to have an unset ring this early in the guide. And so the build is a little bit undercooked right now. There's actually no point in having Ice Nova at this point, so I should probably just pull that. I'll just craft another one of these, and it should be able to afford Boundless Energy. If for some reason... Oops, that was the wrong one. If for some reason that doesn't work as well as I hope, if it costs too much mana for some reason, well, alright, then I'll do that. Actually, there's a reason why it might cost too much mana. I still have to do this. I've been thinking about it, and normally you would use Garkin's Resolve here, okay? One of the awesome things about using Tangletongue is you already get this tech out of the way and you don't have to move forward. So like, it's so awesome, this version of the build, because your elemental twisters are automatically there. You don't have to deal with a pet or understanding where they're at. You also don't have to move 20 yards to bring Twister back online, otherwise it's locked down. You can't do it with Garrican's Resolve unless you move 20 meters. So that's why this setup with Wake of Destruction, Call the Brotherhood, also just freezing everything like crazy. And Tangletongue is a very dummy-proof version of the build and super cheap and super nice. And I'm going to get to relax a little bit as I go into a map, which we're about to do. Okay, it didn't really make that much difference either way, but this is going to improve Ambrosia support by quite a bit, and we'll see how this holds up. If there's a problem, I may switch to retreat support, worst case scenario. Okay, let's do a white map with a boss and ritual. Ritual is very good for this build, and you know, it's also pretty good at bosses. I do not want to be doing the literal top tier of everything of pinnacle content here, so I pulled some passives point, Atlas passives. This is a +2 boss. And let's see how it performs. First map.
I shall overcome.
Oh, might need hold the weak, eh? If I crit, looks like everything will get taken down pretty easily. Oh yeah, we got Abyss too I gotta worry about. You see Salvo is charging up. 1, 2, 3. And it does so faster thanks to Anticipation Anoint. We get extra frenzy charges with Call the Weak. Still seems to work okay with Skysliver. I think I'll loosen my loot filter up a bit because it's definitely not representative. Wow, that was so easy. Yeah, let's do this one. There's no way I would be doing this content with this gear unless I had this one. So you can just kind of get a sense of the loot that drops. You can see the Mana Flask is holding pretty well. I want to remind you that I am missing Thrilling Chase. This is a huge amount of power, getting 50% increased chance to have double Frenzy Charge activation. That you know, gives me like a 40% more twisters that come out. I have a 20% chance with heightened charges, but it becomes 70% chance with this. So I'm personally seeing fewer twisters come out than what I would normally see in normal gameplay. So the second you get that ascendancy point, you would see a huge power spike off the Deadeye. I think charge shots is still important though if you're doing anything bossing related. It doesn't matter a whole lot for mapping content, but charge shots makes the build more fleshed out. Ah, yeah, okay. Call the Weak doesn't really do much damage with Skysliver set up this way. Just look at how the twisters get locked into this ritual. I mean, this is absolutely silly how strong. Less than a divine budget. Whirling / Twister, just completely annihilating tier 15 rituals. Alright, we got a boss fight here. Notice how I got 4 frenzy charges there? That's because I froze those wolves there with Combat Frenzy. Gave me a lot. Notice the boss is also 25% shock, not 20%. That is because this mod, Magnitude of Shock, when consuming the Frenzy Charge recently, indeed works even for shocked ground that comes off there. That's pretty awesome. And that's it. Map finished. Up next, Trial of Sekhemas. 4 floors. Well, I have 11 Exalts left. I can get 3 of these 3x1s to get Honor Res Cap and get some Max Honor for almost the remaining currency for 1 Divine. Doesn't really count as part of the build, but
Want that one, right?
I'm also going to need a level 75 to 80 Jinn to do this. Now, obviously, this would be unreasonable to use all of these. We will not be using these. We'll just plug these in instead. Okay. I should be pretty good for this.
I'm unsure what I've gotten myself into here.
I wonder if I can still just ignore the traps.
Prepare yourself.
Well, I'm getting hit by traps and taking almost no damage, so... I just floor one. This is really something to experience this on a 1 div budget build. Like, I don't feel any less powerful, really. This floor 1, although I definitely feel a little slower.
Need more time.
It's remarkable, man. Really, I mean, it's just like the same thing.
Barely broke a sweat.
We'll see what the 4th floor feels like, I guess. Have to get there first. Wait, I can still totally just run through all the traps. Just the 2nd floor, I guess.
Beware the scorpion sting. Fly.
That looked like it might have hurt.
The end of the trial in my time. But I
What's that? Everything just dead on the 4th floor. Look at the twisters. Look what they do on this floor. It's so strong. Sekhemas, oh my god.
impressive endurance.
Alright guys, we made it. Almost full honor.
This
Oh wait, I am
battle
full honor.
is
Oh, because
our
entering the boss
sacred
room, right?
duty.
So you can see these are the boons, major boon. These are the afflictions. Pretty standard run so far.
You won't get the better of me, Jin.
Let's see how hard he is. Oh, that's got to be a double crit right there. Oh, he's so easy. All right, guys. Well, oh yeah, only 1 relic. I am now qualified for the rest of this video to get my full ascendancy power. I think that's only fair.
We will succeed.
And, you know, just in case there's a spectrum chest. Of course it is. I deserved it. So good. Wait, I changed my filter to make that a tink. Why is it not a tink? I mean, that's just an insult to the value of this drop. Come on. Come on. Well, it looks like in this tiny little farming escapade on the 1 divine budget build, I have now earned almost 30x the value of the entire build. And you can too, if you follow what I'm doing. Maybe. Okay. No promising. No promising. Wait, I might have a 2nd spectrum chest. It is possible. It is possible. Up next, I think we'll do a Simulacrum. Something this build very much excels at. And no, I will not be doing tier 2 or tier 3 on a build that's level 81 with 1 divine worth of gear. We're going to do the easy version. And let's just see how easy it is. So I just realized now that indeed I forgot to buy a couple of jewels. Some of that extra currency I had left over. I have right now, what, 3 jewel slots? 3 jewel slots that are completely empty. That's a fair bit of power left that could go into the build. If I had remembered to buy those, I would have focused on skill effecturation. The reason I recalled this is because I noticed my twisters are despawning a little sooner than I would expect, because usually even on a short budget like this, I would already have twisters that overlap. You know, the 3 salvo going off, and then I wouldn't actually have really hardly any downtime between twister casts, which would make me more vulnerable, less leeching, etc. But I'm missing, you know, something like 30% increased skill speed because I would have 3 of those sapphires. Or rubies, I guess. Basic jewels. And I could have easily gotten 3 of those for almost nothing. Okay, I figured there was no reason to shoot myself in the foot, so I went ahead and paused my delirium encounter and got these jewels for a collective sum of, what was it, 9 exalts, I think? Yeah, so looking for anything maximum energy shield, skill effectuation is a nice combo. I prioritize a good roll range for skill effectuation. And let's go in to see the difference here. Also, I mean, getting a fair bit extra energy shield is kind of nice. So you just saw my twister overlap time, and then suddenly, look, now they overlap. Isn't that amazing? They actually completely overlap. That's why it's very important to focus on skill effectuation, at least insofar as they can overlap them, because that's going to protect you from moments where you're vulnerable to taking damage. It's going to continue leeching life, leeching mana. It's going to continue freezing enemies. It's a big deal. It's one of the secrets of... It's one of those very understated, overpowered aspects of the build. When you have spark-like projectiles out at all times, it makes it hard for monsters to ever even spawn in, let alone, you know, do damage to you. One quick tip to anybody: if you ever find yourself getting stuck on terrain like this or something, you can always just dodge roll out of it. Also, if you end up name locking onto a monster, you just simply release Whirling Slash, tap it a little bit, and you know it'll continually reset wherever your cursor is. Just a couple of playability tips there. Sometimes people ask questions about when they're new at the build. Most dangerous modifier by far at this stage of the build is monsters have elemental ailment threshold resistance. Alright, wave 15. We'll definitely put this one on the air. Final wave of Simulacrum. Ah, I actually sneaked in an innervate buff. Wait, how did Ghosis die first? He's off to the side. You can see I'm even getting endurance charges. That's because of Profusion 2, giving you extra charges, random charges. And so I'm not deterministically getting any endurance charges in this build, but it does give me a bit more energy shield and evasion. Pretty nice. Alright, I guess... Wait, is that actually worth anything? Well, guys, one last test. Let's do a real pinnacle boss. Again, just the lowest tier version. Xesht is a nice target dummy to see single target damage, and with Beacon of Azis, it will help since I obviously don't have Rakiatus Flow. Xesht has a lot of elemental resistances. We focus primarily on physical damage, but you know, I got a Tangletongue with a lot of flat elemental, and then the lightning to cold converted twisters. There's still a fair bit of elemental damage in the build. And I think it goes without saying, the build's obviously very good at breach. So you're getting a little bit of a showcase with that. So far, everything I've done is deathless. Maybe you can see my experience gain hasn't moved at all there. I haven't had any close calls. I don't think I've even seen my health dip, really, except for spending attacks with Tangletongue, actually. Alright, let's do this thing. Don't forget, Forensic Charges gives a whole bunch of extra speed. On the speed test I showed earlier, that did not account speed like this because of charge regulation. Ah, it's a nice opener, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Probably double crit on bifurcated crit there with Tangletongue. Definitely got at least one crit, evidenced by the flame wall from cast on crit going off. It does snapshot, by the way. And yeah, there you go. Clean Xesht tier 1 kill. And nothing dropped as usual. Alright, guys. That's it. We're done. Here's the loot that I acquired along the way. Obviously made a crazy amount of currency on a 1 divine character. I also started crafting these. I picked these up white, and I do, you know, the transmute and the aug, and already got a good start here for a potential spear. Not a personal upgrade, but profit crafting, maybe. Yeah, and I guess that's about it. So, guys, that is, in a nutshell, and actually kind of a long video, half of my day gone. No, I mean, that's what it is like to play this build on a 1 divine budget. That's the sort of movement speed you can expect, sort of power you can expect, and obviously it takes a little bit of getting used to. Navigating play style is very dynamic. It relies on some of the built-in combos that the game at least used to demand you use in order to do good damage, to have high performance. For that reason, as a side point, I don't think it's going to get nerfed in any major way. Because there are a lot of pieces to the puzzle, okay? You got to use Whirling Slash 3 times to get a big twister. You got to use Barrage to get extra twisters. You got to have Frenzy Charges to get even more twisters. You got to wait on Salvo to get even more twisters. But the multiplier is pretty insane in the end, and the amount of twisters, and since it's still shotgunning damage, it's pretty insane in the end. If you play it right, like, you know, actually use Barrage. There you go. Baseline Twister cast. Well, guys, you know, I procrastinated a little bit to make this video. It is honestly one of the least enjoyable types of videos to make. As a player, I just want to continue grinding on my really powerful character. I don't want to dumb my character down just for presentation's sake. But as a content creator, I knew, or rather, I know that this will be really valuable to a lot of you. So if you're, you know, if you got a lot of value, let me know what the big takeaways were for you in the comment section down below. If you see anybody asking about Twister early game, you know, whether they want to see the performance of a super low end budget, whether they want to see what it takes to, you know, purchase the items, the kind of searches, what I went through, because I talked about every single item I bought and why I was buying it and how I set up the gear from scratch, or whether they want to know which, you know, gems to focus on 6 linking and why. Whether they want to have a better look at just kind of how it plays and getting a sense of what it would be like on bosses, whether they want to know the single target damage, the clear, all that. A lot of stuff was showcased in this video, so I hope you guys really appreciate it. We'll get back to mainstream farming here pretty soon. Tomorrow I'll be on stream. But for now, we're going to close this video out. I'm going to probably just delete all this gear and put my real gear back on. And it'll be jarring yet again to go back up to all that crazy speed. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. I suppose I have to admit that it was not in vain, even as playing and grinding is concerned. I definitely saw a huge payoff there, getting that Grand Spectrum, so I have really nothing to complain about. And I hope you guys don't either. So that's it for this video. I'm out for now. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any remaining questions in the comment section down below. I can't think of anything I left out. Except, you know, updating the build guide with, you know, the constrictor version, right? Yeah, this guy right here. TLDR, probably not worth it for most players unless you're going all the way with basically perfect gear. It really constricts the gearing options that you have. No pun intended. Thank you for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video.